Welcome into Triple Zeros, the anti-hot take sports show. I'm your host, Josh Buckhalter. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com. The email address is clockersports@gmail.com. And of course, you can follow the show on Facebook and Twitter at 30spod. That's the number 3 zeros and pod. We're back, man. I told you we are going to keep up with this exciting series. Exciting for me. You know, I think it's exciting for you too. The numbers have shown that. So we are continuing talking about, continue our conversations with interesting people in the sports media business, because like I said, there's no fun if you can't share it with other people who have gone through the journey, have experienced it, and have honestly reached a really, really high heights, and that is exactly who my next guest today is, and that's Kenneth Davis. You've heard him on the Under Center podcast, the Bears-centric NBC Sports Chicago podcast. He's also the host of the That's Davis Show and the Flip and Friends, and also the co-founder of WARR Media. And so it is a great honor for me to welcome him onto the guest. Kenneth, man, thank you so much for joining me and taking time out of your day.
Hey, Josh, man, I appreciate it. I haven't made it to the heights that I want to make. I'm happy you said that. There's a bunch more I want to get to, but I've definitely been blessed and fortunate to take the lane that I've taken, made some of the connections that I've made that have benefited me, some of the mentors, and, you know, just even some of the people like you, just fighting for what you want to do as far as in your career. Particularly people of color, particularly as Black folks, and here trying to make this lane, because, you know, we look at it like there's only so many spots. I remember having a discussion one day with a friend of mine and another friend of ours, and we were talking about getting on someplace, and one of the things that he said was like, well, you know, they already got 2 Black guys up there, right? So it was like, you know, but I'll say this before we jump into it. One of the things that I feel like, for instance, historically back in the days that with hip hop used to hurt Chicago was perhaps a crab in the barrel mentality. I don't think you really have that as much with these younger generations when you're talking about the Dirks, G Herbos, Polo G's, and you know what I'm saying, where it's like, I got to pull you down for me to get to where I need to get or whatever. But when it comes to the sports media landscape, and I'll extend this further in just the media landscape, I haven't experienced that whatsoever here in Chicago. It's been one of the best blessings that my older bros, you know what I'm saying, just to name a few, when you're talking about, you know, Lawrence Holmes, you're talking about Jay Hood, you're talking about a Jason Goff giving me time, you know, like these gentlemen, just to name a few, Devontae Stone, which I'm sure you know from, you know what I'm saying, IMS. I know you weren't there where Ernie Scanton was there running everything, I don't believe, but just a bunch of and I'm not limited to just Black folks, but I want to start off with us. All right, let me begin with us. All right, but there's been a lot of people that weren't Black. You know what I'm saying? Mitch Rosen gave me and Demaz a chance at the score. All the producers, Shane, Chris, you know, like all the guys. There's a lot of people that helped me get to where I'm at. It definitely wasn't me, you know what I'm saying, that helped me get here. But let me stop before I give you a summary and lay on you to drive your show and get my ass out of the way and just be the guest in.
No, it's perfectly fine, because you nailed it, and I want to talk about that. Your rise up, like you said, you know, coming from Illinois Media School, and I've seen you, I've listened to you guys, you and Demons doing the overnights, filling in for Grobber. I've followed you guys doing the podcast. I've seen you go through the transition of having Demons step away, and I want to know how that was as well. How did that transition go for you? Because I know, you know, you guys had a really strong bond. You know what I'm saying? And you got to switch up the entire way that you do things when that kind of steps away. So I want to know about that, but also just, you know, you said you're not done, and I totally respect that part too, because that's something they drill into. You got to keep going. You're never done.
Yeah.
But just how has all of this really felt, you know, just going through that? Start off with the transition from Demons, and then tell me how it just felt to get to this point.
All right. Look, I probably would have went to IMS, which was ICB, when Demaz and I attended, if Demaz wasn't about to go there. So whatever I do, there's always a part of Demaz with me, because it's funny. I was texting him today. Like, for real, let me side note. So I almost didn't make this show because I forgot I have 4 tickets to the WNBA All-Star game. But then it hit me last week. Like, I wonder what those tickets are hitting for. And I made almost a $530 profit and told Demaz, because Demaz was going, and I was like, you may want to come off those tickets. And he made himself a profit. So he sent me some tickets to something else that's about to, he was like, because I was like, this is a new lick right here. We need to start doing this. So just the one lets you know, that's still my dude. All right. Like, That's my brother forever. So anyway, so the summer of 2000, which we're still in the raptures of the pandemic. All right. We're in the raptures of the pandemic. My younger brother just passed in June. I think this is July. I appreciate it. I think this is July. And me and Demaz, this is the last time that we were about to host on the Score, but because of the fact of the pandemic, we actually got to do it from our home, right? Which was, it's not, listen, I love hosting on the Score, but it's nothing like doing 5 hours and then have to go and drive home or whatever and see the setup. It's like, man, to do it and just walk upstairs and go to bed it's a job. So it was a job. 5 hours is a bitch.
People don't understand how much talking that is.
Oh my goodness, 5 hours? Right? Oh my, right? So anyway, it was me, Demaz, and Shane Reardon, who was then one of the higher ups, like really right under Mitch. But now Shane, of course, is the producer, one of the producers, along with Chris Tannehill for Parkins and Spiegel now, right? So that's what he went back to doing what he was doing before he decided to get into management. So anyway, Shane is trying to hook us up so we can do the Score remotely from home. And it's kind of even like how me and you are looking at each other right now. So this is how we are. And I look at Demaz and I'm like, man, what's up? You seem haggard. And he was like, I'll tell you after we do the show. And I said, we're about to break it. That's what I said in my head, right? I said, damn, it's a wrap, right? Like, ain't nobody ever gonna tell you when it's like, mind you, this is like a day or so before we're about to do it, that they can't tell me something before we do something. Like, why are you holding that back, right?
Tell me now.
Right. It's like, all right, whatever. Because we had to get through it. We had to get through it or whatever. So yeah, we went ahead. We did the last show, which was great. And then that next morning, it was a Memorial Day or Labor. It was Labor Day, I believe. It was Labor Day. And the next morning, a Saturday, he called me, I believe. I think he called me. And because we were like, we're going to talk or whatever, he called me. And I mean, of course, I'm ready for it. And he tells me that he wants to go spend more time with his family. And I still sacrifice time. Luckily, though, I'll say this, things changed to where we could do so much remotely that it doesn't affect my time away from my family like it did 4 years ago. You know what I'm saying? To where I'm out on Wednesday nights, I may not be home. Saturday mornings, I may be gone, you know what I'm saying, for hours on end. So my son, if he's doing any sport, I may not be able to make it.
Barricaded in your office working something.
Right. So he wanted to finally, and I always appreciate his family, his wife, Chanel, and his daughter, Gracie, for loaning him to me to us, the collective, as long as they did. But it's wonderful to see him spend that time with his family. So I can't be upset if one of my closest friends ever wants to go spend time with his family. It wasn't an issue where it was between us, which I had to ask, like, man, did I do this or whatever?
Right. It was like, natural. No, naturally, you'd have
to
ask that question. Right.
Yeah. Because if I did, maybe it's something I need to learn so I don't do it to someone else. So then Demar stepped away, and it was just Ryan and myself trying to kind of figure it out. And as you said, like, Demaz and I had wonderful chemistry. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were friends before doing the show. We basically used to do the show in a way from our break room at work where we would debate like that. Or I am a messenger at work, you know what I'm saying? So we always kind of had that before we even started going to school. And when we went to school, it would take our class so long to settle, right? And as mind you, we were in the middle, Demaz and I, as far as age range. So you had some people who were just out of high school and maybe in their early 20s. And then you had some people that at that time were in their 40s. And Demaz and I was like in the middle. We were in our early 30s around that time, right? I'm a few years older than D. So we were in our early 30s or whatever, I believe, around that time. So now my son was like 2. Demaz had his daughter was born while we were going to IMS or whatever that year.
That's tough.
Yeah, and this is nice school too. Nice school and your internship. And my internship became another job. It actually became another job, right?
Oh man, that's tough.
So yeah, you're burning the midnight oil crazy. All right, you're getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep. And when we went, we had to go for 12. Yeah, we had to go for 12 months. right? Yeah, we had to do 12 months. So I would have to get out. We would leave there at school at maybe 10:30 if we're lucky, right? Come home. I had to get up for work to send something out at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, right? That was part of my job at the time. Then we would get up, I would go into the office of my job, sit there for hours and wait till it's time to go to class, or I had an internship, which I may have to come in on the weekend. So it was, it was a lot to do, but if you wanted to do something, that's what you had to do. Right. So anyway, DeMond says he wants to step away. He steps away. A month later, we took us a month, that August, he stepped away. And I was out here in the streets lonely. I hadn't, I would open the show, but DeMond would reset the show a lot. Like that was one of his strengths, was centering me back. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? If I kind of got away, one of the things he would help do was to reel me back in when I got away. So now I have to kind of be more cognizant of it myself, you know what I'm saying, to necessarily do that. And just the vibe, I had this friend where we knew where we were going to go before we were going to go there, depending on what the topic was, because we knew how we were or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like we both could be the straight man and one of us could be the funny guy, you know what I'm saying? Like we could flip that back and forth. It was very good, a very good relationship, you know what I'm saying? Like our chemistry was exemplary, you know what I'm saying? It was exemplary to say the least. So then I'm sitting there, luckily enough, I'm on doing Sean sitting in on Mondays and Fridays on sports, on Sean and Maya's show on Chicago Sports Zone. So that kind of kept me interviewing. Shout out to Sean Sierra. That kept me, at least, because Sean would get good interviews, it kept my interview chops straight. You know what I'm saying? So, and one of the things which was good and bad, I wouldn't even know who I was interviewing until that morning. Right? So it wasn't no post-night prep on this. This was wake up. It's about 30 minutes, maybe prior to we're about to go on, maybe an hour. I'm waiting to see who we're going to get. Then I have to start formulating, okay, these questions, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, just off of that, which, again, it was good. It was good. So then, of course, beginning of last year, due to the fact that what happened with the pandemic, layoffs, up at NBC Sports, you had terrific guys like Cam Ellis and JJ Stankovic. I still haven't interviewed Cam. Hopefully I will one day. I've interviewed JJ several times. I love JJ Stankovic.
He's a great dude. Right? And he's been on a couple of times too. He's an awesome guy, man.
Yes. Awesome guy. I saw that he followed you. And I was like, yeah, that's why I knew the vibes were right. You got JJ. The vibes must be right. So Tony had mentioned to me, one of our everybody in Chicago does sports knows Tony Gill.
That's right.
Tony Gill began as DeMaz and I's intern. All right. So so the vibe was, this was kind of what he enjoyed. I mean, like he came to school, like this is week 1.5 when he came and sat on our show and decided he was going to be an intern, right? He just got there and was like, oh yeah, I'm going to come here on Saturday and I'm going to do this, right? And mind you, and it was DeMaz's cousin, Kyle, who writes for NBC Sports, Kyle Means, Sydney Brown. Sydney and Kyle definitely helped propel the show. And Kyle starting to want to do some other stuff. And all along, I had kind of been like, Tony should be the producer, because by then Tony started working at the Score and he was producing. So if we got a cat that's producing at the Score, he definitely needs to just take over the entire reins of the show. You know what I'm saying? So Tony, luckily, because he was at the Score, Tony would sneak us in. So what happened was this. We started the flip. Kyle and I came up with the flip, because it was like, we need to do something edgy that's not sports related, to where we can talk about other stuff, right? And so we talked about it at work, because at this point, Kyle ended up working where DeMaz and us was working, and he was working in my group. So we went down to school on like Tuesday nights, and we started the flip. Crazy part, like our second or third episode, we're recording. It's me, DeMaz, Jason. I don't know if anybody else in there. Tony's texting in, and this is election night. And we're like, and this is the beginning of the flip. We're like, oh yeah, Hillary's going to win or whatever. Tony texts in like, nah, it looks like Trump's going to win. We're like, what? Right? So it's one of those things that's still harking. So anyway, ended up at times because of Tony being able to get a studio at the Score to record, which it had more microphones because the flip would have like 4 or 5 of us sitting in on it, right? And we would have to pass the mic. Well, usually I may have a mic since I'm kind of driving it, and then sometimes I will pass mine, but they would have to pass the mic. So we started doing it then at the Score. And what happened was the school decided to take away our Saturday show. So we was like, damn, right? Because I know we was like bringing in some students or something. Like, it was like, all right, I guess, right? So they took away our Saturday show and told us, look, y'all can go out to Lombard and still record. So I told Tony, I said, I'll use the old parable, when one door closes, another one opens.
That's right.
And I say, yo, we need to talk to Mitch. So Tony got us a chance to talk with Mitch Rosen, who runs Just Not the Score, several radio stations, right? And Mitch gave us a shot. And Mitch had known we had been up there playing in the studio. Shout out to Mitch for, for the time. I mean, man, like you said, that 5 hours was an MF. And we just didn't sit in for Robert, sat in for Julie. We said it like we would do the holidays. We would do a lot. So it was a great experience. The listeners. Like the little negativity that we got, there was so much positive emotions just with us sitting in, and we're sitting in for Les Grobstein, who is just a foundation. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, less is something that people want less. If you listen to Les, you want your less. You know what I'm saying? And Les listeners were very kind to Demise and myself. That's awesome. You know what I'm saying? They were extremely kind. To Demise myself. And we were, you have people all around the world. I remember after one of the shows, Jay Hood had hit me and he was like, basically you're broadcasting throughout the world and the country, right? And I'm like, you would see their names and where they're from. I'm like, yeah, you're right or whatever. So then again, getting back to it, Tony had hooked it up to where I got a chance. I got a trial period at NBC Sports Chicago to be the host of the Under Center podcast through Michael Allardyce. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to Dice, man, one of the best bosses anybody could have. And Dice liked me enough to where he hired me, and I've been there now. As far as working there, I've been over a year. I started in March of last year, but I've been getting paid about a year now. Something like getting close. If it's not a year now, it's getting close to a year about now or whatever. And I've been on there with Alex Shapiro and Eric Strobel. Eric got a promotion. Shout out to Strobes. And now we have Josh Rock. Also, Adam Hogue was sitting with us. Shout out to Hogue. And Hogue went to CHGO. And they brought in Josh Rock, and Josh has vibed right in. You know what I'm saying? And we're actually doing shows in studio with Tony and Claire Flippily running the cameras and doing all the real work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I crack a mic. You know what I'm saying? I can talk my thoughts and pontificate. These people actually have to make sure everything works and is broadcast out and everything is buttoned down properly. So shout out to Tony and Claire. And that's basically where I'm at right now. And hopefully this isn't, hopefully I don't want to leave the UC, but I definitely want more opportunities, and maybe just not in this arena. Like, I want this to, one, provide a lifelong experience, or just, it has to be lifelong, but a different experience for me. It was something my dad told me I should do, and I was like, man, whatever. And I should have, if I just listened to my dad, man, I would be so much further now.
How often do we say those things? Oh my God.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I would have just, like, he was like, you should be talking sports, either calling games, but you should be doing that. And I basically was like, I don't want to talk about the topic. I want to be the topic, with letting my ego run rampant and not listening to him about something that I had an ability or gift in his eyes to use. You know what I'm saying? So, I always knew to listen. I listen to him. That was just one time because at this time I was old enough to know he was right majority of the time. You know what I'm saying? I had to be like 20. Maybe I was 19 or 20. I had to be like 20. By the time I was 20, I knew my dad was right. Like, right. Because you spend so much time trying to prove him wrong, and you may win like twice. Man, right. But it's right. It's like, and you may get those 2 times, but regardless, my dad trying to teach me, like, there's no such thing as a good deal. And to have to grow up, just realize, like, he's spitting facts. Just understand that You know what I'm saying? The value is either they raised it higher than what it was, and now they're making it look lower, or it really isn't even on sale the way that you believe it's on sale. Not to say that you may not luck up on something, but still his point was what it was with this. Don't be out here thinking someone's hooking you up, because chances are it's not truly a hookup. But yeah, that's how I ended up here to answer your question, Josh.
That's exactly why I asked the question. All right, look at that. Did you see that answer, folks? That's terrific, man. That's a beautiful story about a friendship, and then a wonderful tale of perseverance in one's journey. That's exactly why I wanted to know about that. Let's talk shop and the Bears specifically. Listen to the recent episode of the Undercenter podcast. You guys got into it. The arrest of David Moore. And I don't even want to specifically ask about his arrest as much as, is this a sign of concern after discipline was an issue under the last regime? Is it a bad thing that we're seeing these problems crop up already?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, this is just life right now. Like NFL, look, I hate to say this, and we can say the sports in general, but to a certain degree, and I think it's due to the sport, the NFL is full of quote unquote knuckleheads. You know what I'm saying? Like it's football is different. And I know I'm using this as an excuse, but it's very different and I didn't play it on the highest level, but to attack someone and be attacked. And then, and again, I'm saying it's hard, but then stay in your civilized mind, but not necessarily be kind of on alert mode or / attack mode. And none of these people that are carrying guns that don't have licenses for them should be carrying guns, regardless. I believe David Moore is 28, 27, 28. Like that. So that's too old for. Oh, he didn't know.
Right, an all shucks moment. Right.
Yeah, it's too. You grown, bro. You get around 27 now. Let's stop playing games.
He's on his second team now. You've been in the league.
Right. So you should know. You should know where your gun is licensed. You don't have a American license where you can go state to state. So you know your gun isn't licensed. Now you're risking it because you of course don't think you're going to get arrested, even though like initially. Because I don't find out about the details. The guys tell me the details about them because these are things that were like necessarily wet my whistle. You know what I'm saying? Bros getting locked up, and they'll be like, "Oh, great,
yeah, I'm another with you, one." I'm like, "Oh,
exactly." I'm like, just like for instance, I know you know this. Like I scroll through things on Instagram where it's something happening to one of us, and I cannot just watch it. Sometimes right then because I can't be triggered at this moment.
I'm not trying. Right? I have to wait. That's what it's there for, and I'm not going.
Right, and right, I can't do that every day because every day you could be triggered like that almost. Right, not every day, every other day. You clearly could be triggered by something happening to one of us that's unjust. Again, now I'm not saying what those gentlemen were doing was unjust to them. I'm not. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying. The police blotter stuff usually, depending on what it is, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't, like if it's assault, I want to know, like, because that's something I take, like, what the hell are you doing, dude? What type of man are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the type of things where it's like, what the hell? But if I hear, like, and I hate to say this, like gun crazy country, that someone has a gun, unless they use it to commit a crime, it doesn't grab me like that now. Because, I mean, look, we grew up in Chicago. Until a decade ago, you couldn't legally have a handgun in Chicago. I knew plenty of people, black and white, who were breaking the laws and had handguns, regardless. And they were like, I got to defend my family, blah, blah, blah. I'm not taking anything away from them. But so I can't say now, I can't gym up fake ire when I don't have it. You know what I'm saying? I'm still, look for, what was it? Sam Adams. It was Sam Adams, the one that had the high capacity clip and the car was stolen. Now, for me, I need to know what was up with that car. Because if they're riding around knowingly in a stolen car with a high capacity clip, that sounds like y'all sliding on somebody. You know what I'm saying? You about
plan
to
have some other intentions. Right.
Right now, that you need to get your ass up out of here. You know, like if you're grown and if you're in the league and you're out here on some rudimentary thug-ish, that needs to be gone. But if you are doing donuts if you are, listen, and I'll say this,
thing was
depending
ridiculous.
on
That was the people got mad about donuts. I was like, really? My neighbors just last week were out here doing donuts and nobody blinked an eye. Like,
right. I mean, again, it was a kid in the car, everything like that. But the point still is what gets me angry. Now, I'll say this: if you are in Taco Bell's parking lot with 3 pistols out, high as a kite with more edibles and weed in the car, you may need to, because you dumb, like you dumb, right? For real, like you that high? You know what I'm saying? Like, did you pass out? You know how, dog, do you know how high you have to be? I would love to know if he had left the house. Look, Josh, to be honest, he would have to have been out already for me to kind of be like, it's not as dumb as it is, because I'm like, oh, he's coming from someone else's house that decides to get Taco Bell. But if he left the house that high, yeah, I mean, regardless, either way, he probably should get cut. Don't get it twisted, right? Because that out of all of them, because again, I don't know, they didn't tell me about the car. You let me know about the car, and I'll let you know on that. But this one, 3 pits, like, why did you have 3 pits? Like, what video game are you living in at this moment, right? That you have three pistols. Look, I'm not trying to take this away from nobody, but at some point, like, for instance, and I have wonderful co-hosts on Under Center. By no means that I feel like they're coming at it from some perspective of these black dudes is stupid or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm here. I'm here with us. Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm just being, not to say that, of course, you have people that aren't black watching it, but it's a conversation where it's like, all right, let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to come up like slightly. I hate to say it. I'm going to be slightly defensive for these bros. You know what I'm saying? Just because
it's not the reckless thing that you're talking about that would actually get you upset. I understand that completely.
Right. So I'm looking for ways. One, I'm even with Josh Donaldson, I've told people I don't think he should lose his job. You know what I'm saying? Like that's someone's livelihood. You have to be, and it has to be extremely egregious for me to be like, take his livelihood away. Now, saying if the Bears cut him, that doesn't mean, or any of them, they couldn't go and get a job somewhere else. Mm-hmm. It was a joke on our text thread, and it made me, and it wasn't anything about my man's posted it, but it was about Dwayne Brown getting caught with a pistol, and somebody to the effort was like, well, the Bears gonna sign him now. And it's like, dang.
They might. Because they might.
It was like, God dang. Like, what Ryan Post? What is y'all? Is it pistols or us? Like, first of all, before I sign you, I have to know.
Do you have a pistol? And is it
Are you strapped? Right. But you're not licensed in Illinois. We don't want, like, what? But again, to get to your initial question, I would think that they wouldn't know that these guys are this dumb at this point in their career. Mm-hmm. And I can't solely take it away from Eberflus and Poles, because you're trying to build a culture and you deem these guys as cultural changers or cultural stability guys that can help further permeate your culture to the rest of the players. And you've made bad choices. And now I can say this too. This is the choices you make when you try to do everything on the cheap.
Boom.
You know, when you're trying to get everybody off the scrapyard because you want 1-year deals, because you want to, one, reassess the players you brought in, but one, go out there and get the players you kind of want to get long-term deals, one, throughout the draft of free agency next year and the year after that. So this is what you reap when it's a rebuild. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's we keep, it's the bottom of a rebuild, and they've made some bad decisions on some guys. Nobody has shot anybody, though. You know what I'm saying? As far as I know, no one has shot anyone. These are just them being straight up idiots. And I'll say this. I'll be the first person if this transpires onto the field to where they're having lapses in judgment. I don't know how Matt Eberflus will be as a head coach, but I'm under the assumption that it's going to be closer to what Lovey was, as far as the ship was going to be run tighter. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Just like, so the mental mistakes, one, is simplified what you're doing, particularly on defense, what we're talking about, but also it's just the accountability seems like it should be back over there, which it wasn't under Matt Nagy, as far as what I could see as someone viewing it from the outside looking in.
I totally agree. Like you said, when you try to do things on the cheap, this is what you kind of have to deal with because you're not getting top level guys. And I mean, not to say that people who get paid more are more responsible than people who don't, but there's a reason that those guys have been trusted with those types of resources in the first place. It's not always just production on the field. A lot of it does have to do with character and how they handle themselves. You touched on it in the fact that, you know, they are on the scrap heap. What is your outlook on the Bears season coming up? Because we're hearing conflicting reports. They're saying that they're all behind Justin Fields, but we're seeing that they're not putting a lot of resources behind or around him rather. And we're also hearing reports that they might not be completely sold on him. Where is your kind of barometer on the whole situation with Justin Fields?
I think they're sold on Justin Fields, me personally. I think Justin Fields was one of the reasons that they wanted this job. I'm not to say that you don't want a job in general, but Ryan Poles was a hot name. Mm-hmm. You know, he was on his way to Minnesota. He probably wouldn't have left Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think when it comes to the front office and the head coach, we scrape the bottom of the barrel. You know, I think Matt Eberflus would have gotten a job. If not this year, he would have gotten a job next year, particularly what seemed like that defense wasn't going to go bad, you know what I'm saying, in Indy, you know. But in saying that, I think they looked at the pedigree of Justin with 1 year from Ohio State as a plus for them to come in and like, oh, yeah, okay, we already got a quarterback. But he's not their quarterback as far as if he doesn't work out, they're out. So in a way, it's a win-win for them if Justin doesn't grow into the player that he will be, because no one's going to be like, oh, even if you didn't give him receivers his first year, two and a half years from now, no one's going to be like, well, it's your fault unless you never gave him receivers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're all under the assumption that by this time next year, because by this time next year, we would have been, free agency would have opened up and the draft would have already happened, that another nice receiver or two should be in the building. You know what I'm saying? But one, I think they're trying to make sure they get draft equity back. Like let's be honest. Do you really want to come in here and win 10 wins? Right? Because one, let's just say you kept the team the way it was, like you kept Khalil Mack, right? So one, you didn't get a second round pick, which ended up helping you get, you know, Gordon or Brisker, whichever one that pick fell to. I believe it was the Brisker pick because it was the second pick, I believe, was the one they got in the trade.
Correct.
It helped you. So also let's look at the secondary. We looked at the secondary really being worse than probably the receiving room, and not as bad as perhaps the O-line. Yep. But we were looking at the secondary like, okay, you got Josh Johnson and Jalen Johnson, and nobody counting on Eddie Jackson. Mm-hmm. You know, and now you got a guy on the other side in Gordon and a guy that can be your 8-man in the box in Brisker, and now you're covering up for Jackson, and if he gets him to play good, you got a sweet secondary if that nickel guy can handle it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So like that, that's a strength. If that nickel guy clicks and Eddie, because I'm assuming the rookies are going to be decent. Sometimes everyone gets burnt. Sometimes they're going to get burnt because craftier guys are going to be ahead of them, and craftier offensive play callers are going to be ahead of them until they get to see those play calls and understand perhaps what they need to do and what needs to be their keys moving forward after it happens and the coaches kind of coach them up or whatever. But getting back to it, you don't want to jump ahead and think after this year, oh, we're contending when your foundation was faulty. Because all we're going to end up doing, this is my opinion, is paying for a faulty foundation 3 years down the line, mm-hmm. to where we're like, yeah, you know what? We spent this money on an offensive lineman. We went and got this receiver. Now we don't have draft picks. You know what I'm saying? So now we're in a situation where we got to basically spend money to try to fill out these roster holes around Justin and what's going to end up happening. And then we got to pay Justin. Right. So now what you're doing in the situation is you're getting more free talent. One, as far as guys on their rookie deals, is not free, but you get what I mean. As far as these aren't guys that are hitting free agency and you're paying for what they did in the past, hoping that they can continue to do it in the future. You're setting it up to where you're getting college kids, you're getting more equity. So now you can build and save money and use the money to go out and get just the few times you missed on a draft pick or a player got hurt, compared to you consistently missed on draft picks, and now you're trying to keep catching up by making trades to fill those holes, i.e. a Kevin White, i.e. a Lloyd. You know what I'm saying? When bringing in Khalil, you know what I'm saying? Like you had to keep trying to fill in holes that, you know what I'm saying, you didn't necessarily have to fill in, but Ryan Pace made bad draft decisions. So I think they're high on Justin. But in saying that, I'm not saying that like, man, they all they're gonna do is Justin or bust. I'm not saying that, but I think Justin at least has 2 seasons, if not a little more, to prove that this is his team. I don't think that Ryan Pace or Matt Eberflus looked at having Justin Fields as something negative whatsoever or hindrance as far as taking the team. I think they definitely looked at it as a plus. I mean, this is Justin Fields. This isn't. And I'm not trying to take a slap at anybody. This isn't Malik Willis. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's so many red flags and questions about competition and all of those things.
Right, exactly. Look, this isn't, and there was a guy that Ryan and I, my executive producer of that Davis show, wanted because we didn't think the Bears would have the opportunity. This isn't even Trey Lance. You know, like this dude, and I'm an SEC guy, right? But that's the Big Ten. Let's not play.
Hold on, we got to call it. He started off in the SEC.
Yeah, and then, you know, something hate. You know, because I never listen. Shout out to Fromm, but you knew from that arm, it was like, yo, Kirby, if you want to win, you know you're gonna have to get like a dude, right? If you want to do it. Now, look, I have to say Georgia may win once a decade, but I meant if you wanted another bite at the apple away.
If Justin Fields stays at Georgia, Bears might not have him at 11. He might not have been there at 11 for the Bears to trade up to get. So it worked out. It all worked out.
You're right. You totally look. We could go into so many what ifs. I was doing Chicago Clubhouse Sports this past week, and JB brought up Deshaun Watson. I was like, you know, we missed the bullet with that, right? Like we like that's a bullet, regardless of what happened. And they messed up. Dog, we dodged one with that.
Took 3 years to realize, 4 years to realize it.
Right, because dude, it would have tore the fan base asunder. It would be the camp of guys that are like, I don't rock with, because I would have been in that camp, and the people was like, man, Shorty too good, man. You can't believe those women. Like it would have been I couldn't even enjoy, to my Steelers fans. I tell them all the time. I'm like, dude, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm rooting for Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not. I don't. And, you know, and they own it. They
Shout out to Cleveland.
They own it. Like, I hear what you're saying. They don't deny what we've heard, what Ben Roethlisberger happened down in Athens or whatever, I believe, 8-9 years ago, and that's just one occurrence. I don't like that. I don't want to, and I know the guys that I root for have things about them that I don't know about. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a kid at all. But this stuff I would know. And regardless of if he hasn't been arrested, it seems likely. And I don't rock with shit like that. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to curse on your show.
No. You could.
When it comes to something like that, look, I just told you, I'm here in my personal opinion to cape and protect bros. But then I'm doing a disservice to women and sisters, but just women in general. I can't cover for what it looks like you got some sick kink and you're forcing it. You're sexually forcing it on these ladies. Like, I can't be like, yeah, but you know, he can win a game all by himself.
Though.
Right, dude, he did it all by himself. Jordan, like, I can't. Me personally, I can't. So I feel like I'm going to, like, if we gonna do revisionist history, like you were just saying with the Georgia thing, it's the same way we're right there. And I'm happy. It's funny. I'll get off of it real quick. I used to want I wanted Tyrus Thomas in the draft. Right, I did.
You were one of those people.
I was one of
you and my brother.
I was one of those guys. Me and your brother was one of those guys, right? So for them to trade LaMarcus Aldridge, and the thing is this though, if LaMarcus Aldridge is playing on the Bulls, you don't have that 1% chance to get Derek.
I know
you don't, because they're gonna be better if if LaMarcus Aldridge is in the East Coast. They're going to be better than that. So you don't end up. So in all fairness, you should be happy for us, Tyrus Thomas guys, because we helped our energy helped this happen. But that's kind of the way, you know what I'm saying? And I look at that as far as when we were doing the revisionist thing. But yeah, to get her all the way back to it, I don't believe that. Have they helped him enough? No. I mean, now let me not cape for that where they've done enough, but I understand one, what receivers are out there that are going to want to come here that you're not going to have to overpay because you're not winning, right? I mean, like you got to look, guys are still on the street, and some of it's because their injury history and where they're at in their careers right now. But if you're trying to, one, find out what you have in your room, find out who Justin is, all right? I don't think the receiving room right now is as bad as it felt 2 months ago.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And also, I always was a person that believed, and I'm not saying this like I'm Nostradamus, Nostradamus, whatever, you know what I'm saying. I always thought Byron Pringle was going to end up here, right? And I'm a baby goat, so I'm a huge Pat Mahomes fan. So I saw a lot of Byron Pringle, and I'm not saying I think Byron Pringle was a world beater, but when they hired Ryan Poles and he was a free agent, I was like, okay, I can see him. He's going to be in the quarter, and he's going to be in the receiver room. So we'll see. I'm not saying, again, they're world beaters, but I know that regardless of how I felt the ceiling on Darnell Mooney is, Darnell Mooney works harder than the ceiling that I placed upon him. Sure. So I was wrong. I don't know where he'll end up, but I know he's going to bust his butt to get there. So we'll see. But I'm not saying that they've given Justin everything, giving him the right amount of receivers, or the amount of talent, you know what I'm saying, and experience in his receivers room. I understand that, but I feel as if the receivers may be straight this year, but we have to see.
And that's exactly right. We don't know because a lot of them are unproven guys. So as much as we want to downplay what they've done, we just don't know enough about them yet to say. You provided the perfect transition. I want to say that the LaMarcus Aldridge, Tyrus Thomas draft, that was my first year really paying attention to college basketball, and I was all year on the LaMarcus Aldridge and Texas train. That was my guy the entire year. So when it came time to the draft, I was telling my brother, I'm like, dude, no, we got to get that. LaMarcus, that's it. That's the move. And when they traded for Thomas, he spent the rest of the day explaining to me why it was a good idea. And I just looked at him with the blankest stare. Now, about the Derrick Rose thing, I like to believe that the NBA draft is rigged enough that we'd have still gotten him. So that part wouldn't have made it.
Hey, okay, Patrick Ewing with the frozen.
Okay.
I'm with you. Sometimes, yeah. All right,
it's just on your side.
Right.
Sometimes it's just on your side.
You could definitely like. How does Cleveland keep doing? Like how many years?
Come on now. Was it 3 of them? Right. Come on now. But that provides a really good transition point in talking about the Bulls and the offseason that they have had. I know we just did a lot. You were a Bears guy, but you're a Chicago sports fan, as we talked about. So the Bulls made tremendous strides last year. First playoff appearance in 5 years. Got bounced in the first round. You can say that a lot of why they ended up where they did was because of injuries. How do you feel about the offensive approach that they've taken, a more conservative approach than they've had than last year? How do you feel about where they stand now?
I feel as if, I think they're playing around with thinking they're going to be healthy. I used the 49ers last year. On my NFL preview shows, we kind of go around each conference or whatever and divisions. And when we got to the NFC West, my thing with the 49ers was I was kind of like, I think they could win it, but I feel like they're going to be hurt again, right? Because people always say after you have a year where you're stung, your whole team is stung by injuries, that next year will be straight. And it's like, you can't guarantee that that's not systemic. You know what I'm saying? Like that may be who your trainers, your equipment, the turf or whatever you're on. Like, and I mean, I'm just naming a couple of things. Like you can't necessarily say, well, we'll be healthy next year. And I use that for the Bulls because I think a lot of what Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley are looking at is, well, look at where this team was until January, which that's cool. But let's also start looking at the fact that, and the injuries hurt the Bulls dramatically. I was huge in the preseason that Lonzo was the glue that was making his joint move. All right, because one, he made everyone want to pass more because it's contagious when you see someone that unselfish. But also defensively, what him and Alex Caruso were doing to cover up the defensive inadequacies of the rest of the players. You know what I'm saying? Like Lonzo helped spur the pace, and also the pace, particularly when you have someone like DeMar who's going to slow things down to be efficient and do what he's going to do. You know what I'm saying? All those outlet passes and quick passes up the court that Lonzo provided, let alone his shooting. It's just they missed that gravely. Same with Caruso being gone as long. I mean, Caruso just came back when Shiesty from Duke, Grayson Allen had hurt him again. Like he had been back. Like Caruso had been back in like what, 3 games?
4 games, something like that. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, when Grayson Allen, he had just come back. It was like damn, son, he just got him back.
Somebody got to find Grayson. Somebody got to find Grayson.
Somebody will sign him to a contract. But you need those guys. Hey, the Bulls don't have. You need a guy that you either need a guy that's gonna steal on somebody or get stole on. You know what I'm saying? Like for real.
They had a guy that got stole on essentially in Tony Bradley when Steven Adams picked him up and walked him off the court. So you don't really you don't want those guys.
Tony,
that was embarrassing for me, and I'm not even him.
Totally. Shout out to Tony Bradley for taking that option, picking up his option. But golly, y'all got Tony Bradley on y'all. Like you knew early last year was like, oh.
So, full disclosure, I was a Tony Bradley guy when he arrived because I was like, man, he's got the potential to be something, the backup that the Bulls needed. He's got the size. He's got some. No, I was wrong.
Yeah, and look, I can get look, because when he came from OKC, right?
From Utah, I believe. Was Utah? It might have been OKC. It might have been OKC. You might be right about that.
Okay, look, I could seeing him a limited amount of times and think, as our backup, he could be good. It was in the preseason where watching him, he was like, oh, snap. Shotty, what? He didn't even jump. He could have got that board, or he could have, and it was like, yeah, this ain't gonna be it right here, right? And it's like, damn, now because you took that gap, or when you took that position and you didn't do anything with it. Again, back to it. The fact that I think they lean on health too much, but also one thing happened last year too in the second half, later in the second half of the season. Those real teams start showing you, oh, it's that time of the year. And the Bulls haven't even gotten to that level yet. Like, so now we have to wait and hope they're healthy this year to see how that entire team reacts to when Milwaukee, the Celtics, the Heat, and the Sixers put on their playoff capes. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a different beast. And the Bulls, I think even if the Bulls had their full accoutrement of players, it still would have jumped out to them like, oh, snap, it's real out here. You know what I'm saying? And that's with Chris Middleton being hurt. You know what I'm saying? Because Giannis to me is the best player in the NBA. All right, just period. If you got to give me one guy, and I'm not saying he's the most skilled, but I'm not saying he's not skilled. That's disrespectful. Because when I grew up, 7-footers that were power forwards weren't you could, for instance, Charles Barkley, and he wasn't a 7-footer, he was 6'4", but as a power forward, he could take the ball coast to coast. He wasn't Euro stepping through that bad boy, and you didn't know like, how am I gonna stop? Oh, stop! Like you like that. Dog, he wasn't doing it with 3 steps from baseline to baseline. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy to see him do that.
That's cool, dog. What am I supposed to do? Yeah. Once this dude can shoot, oh my, right? Oh my, right? So I'm saying even with Giannis by himself, it would have been hard for them to beat Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying? Like, dog, you give Giannis a half of Drew Holiday and a hyped up Bobby Portis, he ready to get to the second or third round.
And Bobby relishes his opportunities to stick it to the Bulls whenever he can. He
should.
Yes.
He found the perfect place. And Bobby admitted to. Bobby said, sometimes you make a mistake and you go for money thinking you should be getting this and you're in the perfect situation. Talking about the Bulls. Because I think all of us, as a Bulls fan, I didn't want Bobby to go.
No.
But Bobby had to know he was a bench player.
Yeah.
That was the problem with it. But I'm saying a bench player that should get like,
high level bench guy. Yeah.
High. You're gonna start sometimes, right? Like you are the 6th man, but it's even different from that because you're big, and we're gonna need you to start. Not even sometimes just out of injury, just because of the fit of what we're going up against. But at that point, he didn't know that. So you gotta I think the Bulls was offering maybe around 80 or something like that, which would have been.
I think the deal he just signed is less than the one that they offered him before they traded him.
That's what I was getting to. He still didn't sign to make up the amount of money from that, but he found his place. And now, look, he's going to be able to make most of that money back in Milwaukee off the court. And because now they love him. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's their dude now. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like Bob, like he's their guy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I still don't believe, and I have to see it, and I hope so, because this team was so good. And I thought they were going to be good for preseason. I really thought like, yo, this team is, forget fighting to get out of the tournament. They should be around in the 4th or 3rd seed, I started to believe early, just from how it looked. But in that, and I'm biased, of course, I'm a Bulls fan. When you start seeing those live bullets close to playoff time and playoff time, I have to see if they're going to raise the level. And they still don't have someone who intimidates. And this isn't hockey from back in the days. This isn't even basketball when you had to have Charles Oakley to protect Patrick Ewing or Michael Jordan. This isn't, but you need somebody that they know like, yo, when he grabbed you, chill out. Because going back to the Grayson Allen situation, I remember 3 nights later, the Bulls, I believe they're in Indianapolis. I don't think they're here. And there's a tussle, and DeMar DeRozan goes to like grab Domantas Sabonis to like, and not grab him like, get the hell out of here, but grab him like, yo, chill. And Domantas Sabonis flung DeMar DeRozan's hand off to him so disrespectfully. I said, man, this goes back to the Grayson Allen situation. Somebody needs to get stole on, because now people are like, man, nobody's worried about
off the
y'all
bench to do anything, right?
Right. No, but we're not worried about y'all or anything. They need, and it doesn't have to be fisticuffs, right?
It's presence. It's all presence.
Part of the reason I would have been cool with them getting John Collins is because, and I'm not saying John Collins would have been a perfect fit here. He's not necessarily where you'll be like, well, he's a rim protector, even though he's going to get some blocks, but he's a hold your head MFer.
Yeah.
Like, he's a dude that was like, oh goodness, right? The energy, just looking at him yakking on Joel Embiid, one of the most skilled centers, but best centers of all time in Joel Embiid when healthy, right? To see how that slender young power forward was bringing that action to Joel's head.
Put him on a T-shirt.
Right. And they'll be like, dude, oh, you disrespecting them, disrespecting back. We need some of that energy on this team, because sometimes you can't always be quiet when you get pushed. It's cool if DeMar is like that. You know what I'm saying? And there's some people that need to see DeMar lead in that way, because it may benefit them to do that, but you still need a guy that's like, yeah, no, get that. Not here. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
because sometimes when y'all are like, man, what do we do? When that guy does that, you're like, oh yeah, that's what we do. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's we live like that. We on that type of time.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree with you on that. And it's funny you mentioned the Hawks, because that's a team I cover the Hawks as well, and I watch them do what the Bulls are doing now and banking on better health and a better situation. And when the Bulls got put together, my thought was healthy, they would have settled as a 6th seed. I was surprised to see them rise as high as they did. So knowing where I had them beforehand, knowing that Billy Donovan talked about their deficiencies throughout the season, even when they were healthy, and then seeing what the rest of the East has done, I'm with you. Like, they're putting a lot of eggs in the health basket, and I'm not sure it's the wisest choice, because not only are they counting on being healthy, but they're counting on internal improvement, which is never a guarantee. So I'm totally with you on that, man. You spot on.
Talk, Josh. And look, before we go, dude, do you think I don't want Patrick Williams to be phenomenal?
Man,
of course.
People
but
swear you just
hating. The clock. The clock is getting to. We're getting back to something that we just went through with a young gentleman that played here that now plays in Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? And the first year, man, the Finnish Lord, because that's what I used to call him. All right, I used to call Laurie the Finnish Lord, right? You couldn't have Laurie for the first. If you came to me like, I trade you so and so for Laurie, I'd be like, get your ass out of here, not Laurie Marketing. Did you see him D up KD and block the ball in the Steph's face? Are you Laurie Marketing? Like, right? You couldn't take Laurie Marketing from me, right? By the second year, I was kind of like, yeah, we may need to get up off that stock. Some people still think that stock's a good stock. We may need to move it. And now you're in a situation, you may end up with the same thing where P. Will may never have the fire that you're saying that he needs on both sides of the court. Definitely offensively. But if you guys are like, and you hit on it when you said internal improvement. If you guys are saying the rim protection is going to come from him that you need, and the individual, on-ball protection from large wing players.
That's a lot.
That's a whole lot to say that he's going to mature. And that listen, you better be right. You better hit, because if we go back and look, and I know there's rumors that some of these trades that he could have been included in, and I'm not talking about Rudy Gobert because you would have had to give up all your future draft picks for that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just.
I was pushing for that trade, but I'm glad they didn't do that. That was a lot.
Yeah. See, I'm with you. I was interested, but I knew that in the long run they were going to put themselves in a box that they weren't going to be able to grow out of as far as move further into the playoffs. Because he would have got them into another round easy, or even I don't want to know if he would have gotten to the conference finals, but as soon as they would have went, but as soon as they would have went small, you know what I'm saying, or had who's ever playing center just drift out there to the corner of 3-point line and just draw his ass the hell out of the post. So if he's defensively, if he's not in the hole, what the hell is he going to be doing in this M up? You know what I'm saying? Let alone, so what happened when we pull him out here on pick and roll? No, we on his ass. You know what I'm saying? Like it's again a wonderful defensive player. Wonderful defensive player. Not trying to take anything away from him, but looking at all the holes the Bulls had. Like think about this too, and I'd say that they will stay like this. The reason the Bulls, when Arturius kind of service and Mark Eberflus took over, that Billy Donovan came out and was like, yeah, we're going to have Wendell Carter Jr. shooting the three. We're going to sometimes run the offense through Wendell Carter Jr. When I say this, run the offense, some people take it when I'm saying like, okay, yeah, run in the post, we're going to throw the ball to you, and then we're going to initiate. No. They wanted him on the elbows out, you know what I'm saying, with him deciding who's going to get the ball when guys are diving and doing whatever, you know, like pin downs or whatever. Like they want him to be mentally the operator of the offense when we're saying this, not run it through traditionally in the old sense of the word. They did all of that to find out if Wendell Carter Jr. can do the things that they thought that their offense needed, similar to what Joker does in Denver, where, of course, Arturius comes from, right? And that's why they went out and got Vucevic, because they wanted a guy that they could pull out to the elbows and initiate an offense. Had a guys running like that's so. Now you're putting Rudy Gobert in that role. You know what I'm saying? Like
he can't do that.
So now offensively, outside of the fact that he's not as dynamic offensively as Vooch, you know what I'm saying? Like he's not going to pull somebody out, you know what I'm saying, a center out because he can shoot from the 3-point line or whatever, right? Or even think about this. If you have Rudy Gobert on the elbows initiating offense, who's ever defending him is sinking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sinking because, dude, I'm sinking off of you because take the shot. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm clogging up the lane. Yeah, I'm another help defender back here if one of your guys gets to the rim. So it's just like that's to where it's like, yes, Rudy Gobert takes them to another level, but I don't see that level meaning championship window. And that's the problem with me with just making it Rudy Gobert, especially now you have no draft picks. And I get that they don't care, but part of the reason you guys particularly Arturius kind of services here, you're here because we liked what you did in the draft, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like that's Denver wasn't bringing in hella free agent players. Like what was the biggest free agent player that came to Denver during that time? Andre Iguodala?
Yeah, I think in the Aaron Gordon was a trade. I don't even know if that was the
same regime. Right. I don't even know if that was the same regime. No, he left. No, you may be right. I think you're right. It was a trade.
I think I think Aaron Gordon was a trade. Andre Iguodala might have been free agent. I'm just saying they're most recent guy.
Reason why I think Iguodala was traded was because he was a free agent and then decided to go to Golden State because he was talking about some of the stuff George Karl was saying. I don't know if he signed there. I feel like it was the end of his deal. It's probably he got traded. I feel like that. But regardless, what the point that I'm making is we wanted to see you pull off some of those gems and those decisions that you made in the draft. And I get leveraging some of these assets, but it's like some of this stuff, dog, we need young talent. Dog, what the hell are we going to do with Cleveland and Detroit in 3 years if those kids grow up right?
That's why you got to hope that Patrick is the guy and that Dalen Terry is another one that you've hit on back-to-back picks because it's definitely – like I said, man, I've seen it. I've seen teams bank on this, and it generally doesn't go the way that they expect it to, and that's my biggest fear.
Right. Look, the thing to your point, if you don't really have a superstar, very rarely do you win building straight through the lottery because you end up having to trade. Even let's just say you hit on a superstar in the lottery, you end up having to trade some of those other assets to help build around a superstar. Look at the process of Philadelphia, how many guys they drafted, how many guys did they decide to build around when it was time. It was Joel and Ben Simmons out of all the guys they were drafted, you know what I'm saying? But you can also look at, for instance, when you have teams like the Clippers, where, again, if they were healthy, that they could be contending for a championship. But we're talking about banking on help, where you could try either way, organically or through trades and free agents being able to build power teams. It doesn't guarantee you a trip to the finals.
That's right.
Like, that's just the truth. Unless you have a squad that can basically almost win, and then you add a freak of nature like KD. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're then, or a good squad, and you add LeBron. But outside of that, it's hard to be guaranteed the finals in this NBA, because there's a lot of good teams in this NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was times in the past, dog, it was like LeBron used to waltz to the finals. Yeah. All right, like, let's be honest. Yeah, it was like, hey, the whole freeway is open for you, LeBron. No, it's like the Autobahn with no cars on it, basically, for the East, for LeBron to get to the finals. Like, that's how bad the East was. You know what I'm saying? To where now, there's dog, you got Memphis jumping on your neck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, telling you about it.
Right. Exactly. Right. Like, it's not, dog, you could go down to Charlotte and LaMelo may put it on you. And I'm not talking about in the playoffs, but I'm just saying, like, there are teams now to where you thought you would just run through them. It's not necessarily as easy on either side, let alone the East, which has been the worst conference until last year for like 15, 20 years. You could go all the way back to the last three-peat of the Bulls, basically, how down the East is you know what I'm saying, where it started tickering down, you know what I'm saying, to where the West became the super conference or whatever.
No, you spot on, man. He is Kenneth Davis. Find him on Twitter at That's Davis. Check out all of his work, all of his terrific work. Under Center Podcast, That's Davis Show, The Flip, and we are Regal Radio, everything. This dude is everywhere, and as you can hear, he's got the golden pipes as well. So, Kenneth, man, thank you so much again for taking time out of your day to join me on this Sunday.
Thank you. Don't let this be the last time.
Never.
I definitely look, when I started doing interviews on my show, we'll definitely have to add you back. I haven't done interviews in a minute. I've neglected my show. I have to get better. No, I have to, because one, getting back to where you were saying, I know we were exiting about with D leaving, I had to really get used to doing it by myself. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to really, because interviewing is easy. That part's easy for the most part, but I had to get used to doing a show alone, particularly if I want other people to come in. But yeah, right. I appreciate it, Josh. I look forward to your success. May only good things happen to you, and be safe out there, man.
Thank you. I wish nothing but the same for you as well. That's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Josh G. Buck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com. Email address is clockersports@gmail.com. And, of course, follow the show on Facebook and Twitter at 3zerospod. That's the number 3 zeros in pod. And read the stuff. Last word on pro football, soaring down south, heavy on Bulls, and pivot ain't easy. Until the very next time, you already know what it is, man. We're gone.